Hello everybody, I'm Joyanne Haigh. We welcome our viewers and listeners in Barbados and around the world to another edition of Face It and Fix It on CBC TV 8, CBC Barbados Facebook and YouTube, and of course, Q100.7 FM radio for those of you wanting to join us from your cars or at work. Today, we check in on some of our media colleagues. How have they been navigating the pandemic waters? What has their journey been like? And how do they disseminate all the info out there and ensure that the most up-to-date information is correct for you? Enlightening us will be CBC journalist KRYSTAL HOYTE. And from Slam radio station today, DJ Patrick Salt BELLAMY will also be joining us. Later in the show, we will be speaking about the residential waste collection improvement project of the Sanitation Service Authority that gets underway in a couple of days, and they are in partnership with management firm Prosource Limited, and that really should be waste management firm Prosource Limited. And filling us in on that entire project will be the SSA's Public Relations Officer, Mr. Carl PADMORE, and Communications Specialist of Prosource Limited, Janelle Edwards. On our last guest today, we will be speaking to Mr. Nathan Hart from the Barbados National Oil Company, and he will discuss some of their projects, but mainly he'll be telling us a lot more about solar and renewable energy later in the show. As always, we want you to join us by calling us on 228-5563 or 228-5562, or send us a WhatsApp message on 228-5562, or you can join us on Facebook by typing in CBC Barbados and leave your comments there. Coming up, our first guest, journalist KRYSTAL HOYTE. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Our first guest, KRYSTAL HOYTE, a journalist at CBC. Over the years, KRYSTAL has covered St. Vincent, from what I understand, in the Grenadines during the eruption of the volcano. She was also in Haiti, and recently, a lot of you, if you didn't know her before, you will remember her from that outstanding interview that she did at Harrison's Point. Welcome, KRYSTAL, to the show. Good morning, KRYSTAL. KRYSTAL, I think we're having some technical problems, but we're going to rectify that. Hi, KRYSTAL. Can you hear me?
Thank you for having me.
Good, thank you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, as you know, the technology that we don't have to use from time to time will stick. So hopefully the public will bear with us in case it happens again. KRYSTAL, welcome to the show. I understand that you were in St. Vincent with the volcano eruption, and you also went to Haiti recently as well. Can you tell us about what that was like being on the ground in St. Vincent and reporting to us in Barbados? What was that like for you?
It was definitely a very interesting but exciting assignment. I was on the ground with our Sharika Griffith, and we were trying to get a sense of, persons who were most impacted in the red zone particularly, and that's what our assignment was all about.
So when you go to these places, is there some sort of fear? I mean, you're human. And I think that people see journalists and don't recognize that some of the assignments that they go to are pretty dangerous. Did you feel any sense of fear being on the ground in St. Vincent when you were reporting?
There's always fear, but I try not to let fear stop me from going out there and trying to get answers and doing stories. But we all go with a little bit of fear in us.
Okay, so what about your time in Haiti? No,
In Haiti,
volcanoes is one thing, yes, but
but an
earthquakes,
earthquake,
mm-hmm,
completely different.
completely different.
Haiti was different from St. Vincent because there were a lot of security concerns. We got on the ground in Haiti and we needed to have security with us 24/7 because of the situation there. Getting to Lakai, Haiti, which is the area most impacted, was difficult. We had to get a helicopter over because to go via the usual road would have resulted in us interacting with some of the gang members who would have blocked off some of the roads and making it hard to get relief items, furthermore stories outside of the country.
So how easy is it for you to send information to us in Barbados? I mean, we know, yes, we have Wi-Fi, but certainly in a volcano or earthquake, we know that cell towers may be out. How challenging is that getting the information out?
It's definitely challenging getting the information back to home base, but the most important thing is to get the information. So as long as we're on the ground, it's all about getting as many stories as possible, telling as many stories as possible, and then we'll worry about getting it to Barbados or to the public after. So we usually do a lot of stories on one day, and then we try to get back to wherever we're home basing at in that country and tell these stories from there. Wi-Fi is usually not that bad in St. Vincent, luckily, because it was the red zone most impacted. The green zone had connectivity similar to in Haiti. We were when we were in Lakai, we did as many stories as possible. But when we came back over to Port-au-Prince, that's when we would be able to send back our stories.
So we see on TV sometimes with journalists going into some really dangerous countries and areas with wars and natural disasters. And there's no such thing for some of them as the luxury of a hotel, depending on how bad the situation is. So did you guys have to rough it, so to speak, going into either St. Vincent or Haiti? You may not have the most pleasant places to stay. Have you had that experience at any of your assignments overseas where you guys had to rough it maybe on the great outdoors?
Luckily for us, thus far, we've been fortunate that where we covered and where we stayed, there were completely different. So in Lakai, there was no way that we could have stayed over there, and that's why we had to helicopter across. But we stayed over in Port-au-Prince, so we didn't necessarily have to rough it. In Haiti and in St. Vincent was a similar situation. Our only issue was really trying to get back. The airport was closed because of all the volcanic ash, and as a result, we had to go through Bequia, then St. Lucia, and then the RSS plane came for us to bring us back. So it was a very long journey home. The Coast Guard had left us there because their mission had to go back to Barbados and come back to St. Vincent a few days later. So it was the most challenging thing was transport.
So let's come back now to Barbados now. We know we have the pandemic. most Barbadians know, they know you from before, but I think when you did the interview at Harrison's Point, I watched, I was a little concerned for you, actually, wondering if I could do that. What was that like, just preparing for that interview, physically preparing for it with all of the PPE you had to wear, as well as mentally preparing to go into Harrison's Point? Share that with us, what that was like for you.
This was my second time in Harrison Point. Shane Jones and I actually went into Harrison Point last year. And at that time, we didn't get the opportunity to go into primary isolation or any of the isolation centers, just an overview of Harrison Point. So the opportunity to go into Harrison Point and tell these stories, I felt it was important because it put a face to the pandemic and the severity to this Delta variant in particular. The amount of people that were in primary isolation, on ventilators, intubated, I really wanted to tell that story. So for me, preparing for it mentally wasn't that challenging. I'll tell you though, preparing for it physically was difficult because we were putting on all the PPE, and I was telling Dr. Young, I don't know how you guys do this, and you're doing this for long hours each day, sometimes 5-6 hours there in full PPE. It's difficult to breathe. When I came out, there was markings all on my face because of where the face shield was, where the mask was. Your ears hurt. It is a very uncomfortable, can get very hot. It is unimaginable what our healthcare workers go through every single day.
How long did it actually take you to put on all of that equipment that we saw you in?
It took us 15 minutes, but I'm sure that the healthcare workers get it on a little bit faster because they're accustomed to it. But Dr. Young had to walk me through the process and ensure that everything was secure. I was covered all over. Our shoes were covered. So it took a while. And the donning process to get on is just as long to do it to get off, because you have to sanitize in between each process. You have to be very careful taking it off because that's a risk in itself.
So did you get the opportunity to, I saw you interview some persons, obviously for other reasons we would have seen some persons' faces blurred out in the backs of individuals, but you managed to capture one or two. That was with their permission, I would imagine. To do that. What was that like, just seeing an individual, elderly, because in this case it's elderly, with these tubes and telling that story for you personally? I mean, people say, yes, it's the job.
Sorry about that. I didn't hear your question.
Okay.
I think we're having technical difficulties.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay, we can't hear KRYSTAL, but we will take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk to KRYSTAL a little bit more about what happened at Harrison's Point when she was there. We'll be back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We are speaking with KRYSTAL HOYTE. We're talking about her interview at Harrison's Point that most Barbadians and people around the world in the diaspora, a lot of people are actually tuned in. So what we're going to do right now is that we're going to show you a clip of that interview. We're going to play at least a minute of it. And for those of you in Radio Land, you can listen along too and hear Crystal and Crystal Hoyte speaking with a patient at Harrison's Point.
Primary isolation facility at a time when Barbados has close to 1,000 patients in isolation, from children to young adults and the elderly. Today, an exclusive interview with Yvette Callender, the COVID-19 positive patient in primary isolation.
I was having severe dry cough, loss of appetite, and I decided to go and have it checked out. And the first test was negative, and then the second one was positive. I was sent into the isolation at the hospital, and then from there here.
When you first found out that you tested positive, were you afraid?
Yes, because I know nothing about it.
Do you mind me asking if you have any comorbidities, diabetes or hypertension?
Yes, both. And hypertension, yes.
On initial assessment, what were the doctor's concerns?
I had lower oxygen and the pressure was low. At first, the blood sugar was high, but it's getting there.
Are you vaccinated?
No, but I'm thinking of it
Is there a reason for your hesitancy?
because I wasn't aware of the situation then and how this not having it done could have been worse. Now I'm considering it because I don't want to get worse, I want to get better.
What do you say to Barbadians who think COVID is just a common flu?
Take it serious, not just a common flu. It is an actual thing. Try and think about the seriousness of it and be considerable and stop playing the fool around.
How have you been treated here at Harrison Point by the staff?
Wonderful, because had not for them, I would not be in this position in order to speak to anyone. This morning they got a surprise that blew me. I actually had a walk outside in the sun along with the oxygen tank, and I spent some time outside staying up in the sun, which was fantastic.
I asked you earlier if you feared for your life, given the number of deaths these last few days, and you said no. Why is that?
Because I am a devoted Christian and I believe in the Almighty. I does my prayers to Him every day. Whole day I pray.
The church has received a lot of backlash after being identified as the source of some clusters. What would you say to churchgoers?
Please be careful and stop it. Stop the congregation and doing the wrong things that you're doing, and think about it and do the right things.
Ms. Callender, thank you for sharing your story with me and the wider public. I wish you a full recovery.
That always gets me. I've watched it a couple times and still always feel the same way afterwards. Crystal, excellent interview in terms of getting the facts and the truth and hearing it firsthand from a patient in primary care. Were you emotional when you, even probably not during, but certainly, how did that make you feel walking away from hearing all of that, from seeing all of that? Because we saw some other individuals that, you know, obviously their identities were protected, a lot of tubes. Must have been, you know,
It
you
was
might have,
definitely emotional walking through primary isolation. There is so much that we couldn't show, obviously, because you have to protect the privacy of those. But there were a lot of persons intubated. We would have requested consent from some of them who had the oxygen mask on their face, but they could hear us. So they weren't in a coma or anything. They could hear us and they would have nodded and given consent to share their image. And we even said, we will still blur your face. We just want to show Barbadians, you know, the situation here in primary isolation. There were rows of beds, and you can't see everything because again we have to protect the privacy of those seeking medical attention. But it was disheartening, honestly. And if this interview, if these videos don't encourage persons, you know, to look into getting the vaccine, you know, and making the best choice for them and their families, then I really don't know what will.
what do you say to Barbadians that look to that video? Because, you know, there's some who, no matter what we do, no matter what you do, they will, you know, stand their ground that they don't want it. They think it's a hoax. We're over, you know, it's something that people die every day, you know, that type of thing. But what do you want to say to Barbadians when they say to us that that is fear mongering, when they describe that as fear mongering?
You know, that is not even the extent of what's going on in primary isolation. So it really isn't fear mongering. That is the reality that our country is facing right now with this COVID-19 Delta variant in particular. And, you know, if we don't take it seriously, we are going to be in a very bad situation within the next few weeks. The primary isolation facility is actually almost at capacity. And that's how
It is probably over now, over the last 24 hours or so. God help us with the numbers that are going to come in again today. And we're seeing a trend that the majority of the persons going into isolation and the deaths that we're seeing, for sure, it has been reported that all of the deaths so far since the vaccination has been introduced, they have been all unvaccinated persons, and my heart goes out on condolences to the families of those individuals. But when you spoke to some, or in this lady, when she says she's considering, do you get the sense of, I don't know if you got a chance to speak to other persons, maybe off camera, in tertiary or secondary, you know, unvaccinated, did you get a sense that they're thinking, after we get out of here, I'm going to vaccinate?
You know, I spoke to some of them in primary isolation. One of the main questions I've gotten since that interview is why did I not interview persons in primary isolation that were vaccinated, or shown persons that were vaccinated? At the time when I went in there, there was nobody in primary isolation, the ICU for COVID-19 patients, who was fully vaccinated. So I didn't get the opportunity to interview any persons vaccinated in there. But when I spoke to the others and I asked them, you know, are you considering the vaccine? You know, given the situation, you've seen the severity, you know how this virus works. Some of them with comorbidities, they say yes. You know, after this, to not get the vaccine, it doesn't make sense. And they're encouraging Barbadians to get the vaccine. I always believe that it is a personal choice, so it is up to every Barbadian. But you've seen the facts, and the reality is that those who have comorbidities and those who are unvaccinated are the ones that we are seeing that are dying, especially these last few days.
This, you're right. I'm sorry you didn't get an interview with a vaccinated person, 50 and over, with comorbidities, because I think it's important to show the persons who are elderly, what I say, over the age of 50. I'm over the age of 50, but you know what I'm saying, that we're halfway there. It's important to show that they're vaccinated. It's important to share with us that they have similar comorbidities to those who are unvaccinated, to show the end result then for both. Because if the end result for the vaccinated was, okay, yes, they still caught COVID, yes, everybody knows that there can be a breakthrough. but being able to survive it with comorbidities over 50 years old versus someone the same age as you, same comorbidities, but unfortunately dies. That is really where it's at. That's showing us that the vaccine works. If you could do other interviews, and I'm sure this would probably not be your last Harrison's Point interview. What would it be? I mean, you're young, so I wanted to find out what would you want to do or say now to people in your age group that refuse to vaccinate or still hesitant, I should say, because they're for different reasons. We know some are hesitant. We know some for religious reasons. We respect that. But we know that some just want to wait and see. What would you tell persons in your age group, given that you've seen this firsthand?
I think that Dr. Ford said it best in our longer news extra, where he said, persons think that, especially young people, think that they're invincible, but he would have seen an 18-year-old collapse. They went from being asymptomatic to collapsing down at one of the other isolation centers. So this is truly not a virus, and particularly this variant that is just, for the over 50s. This is affecting young people. There are a lot of young people at Harrison Point now and in isolation centers. They may not be in primary isolation or in the ICU, but they're there. They're contracting COVID and they're dealing with low oxygen. The doctors have reported this. So it is not that it is a virus that only affects the elderly, that we've moved past that. And young people have to take it seriously, especially because, it is not a selfish virus in that when young people, they go home, they live with their older parents, and you don't want to bring home this virus to your mother, your father, your grandparents. That's the truth.
I can tell you, I have a friend, many friends, I can tell you, people I know are currently in isolation, and they were following the protocols, but COVID and this Delta variant has a way of creeping in sometimes, and sometimes through family members who may not be doing the things that you are doing and bring it home to you. But I can tell you that I spent most of my day yesterday, instead of my Christmas cleaning where I wanted to do. There's a parent right now, and she may be listening. She's now finally gotten into isolation, but she's negative, and her 1-year-old baby is positive, and went in, and she didn't obviously transmit it, and even if she did, it wouldn't be deliberately, but in a nursery school, this is what we're seeing now in nursery schools. But the baby had a fever, wasn't drinking formula as normal. I pray, and I will continue to pray, that the baby recovers. Obviously not vaccinated, because we don't vaccinate babies, but I can tell you that their entire family, so the mother is negative because she vaccinated, and maybe that will help protect her somewhat to give her the chance to look after her child. Because remember, being vaccinated, yes, it can break through. Yes, you may feel a little ill, but you wouldn't be critical or hospitalized for the most part, giving her now, the mother, the opportunity to look after her 1-year-old baby. And to those of you who are parents, it must be heart-wrenching to know that you got to carry your child, babies, to these isolation centers. And I don't know, like you, if your video does not convince Barbadians who were hesitant, and I'm a communication specialist, I don't even know what would, and but I want to hear your final thoughts. What did you want Barbadians to take away? You went through the whole process for them, and I'm not saying you risk your life, but you went in there where some people would say, listen, I ain't going on to Harrison's Point. You can't pay me enough money unless I was positive, or unless I'm a doctor. You did what you had to do as a journalist without fear. And what would you like for Barbadians to know, the takeaway from doing all of that? I'm just reading here. Someone says, blessed Monday, Joyanne. That recap of Harrison's Point made me cry, seriously, to see how persons taking this virus for granted. So there you go. I'm
That's
hoping
the
that person,
takeaway.
that's the takeaway from it.
Takeaway is to see the severity of the COVID-19 virus and the impact that it has had on our healthcare system, and how overwhelmed our healthcare system will become as we're over 1,000 in isolation. And, you know, we can keep transforming schools into isolation facilities, but the reality is that our doctors are overwhelmed. We don't have adequate personnel to deal with these numbers. So I hope that the takeaway is the severity of this virus, and for Barbadians to consider protecting themselves and their loved ones.
Okay, well, Crystal, I certainly want to thank you for coming and sharing your experience. I personally want to commend you. Excellent interview. Touching. I think it did what it did. I was like, okay, well, thank God I'm vaccinated. Thank God I got my daughter vaccinated, my other daughter in England vaccinated. And for those of you who think that people are fear-mongering, what Crystal brought to us was the facts, was the truth. And it wasn't from hearsay. It was direct interviews, and you can hear from the individuals who were not coerced in any way. So let us be clear, because of course you may want to, people find all kind of things to say, oh, that's somebody's aunt, or so-and-so's family, and you know, every excuse that they could find to pull down what you do. So I want to say on behalf of all Barbadians, thank you, Crystal HOYTE, for doing that interview in the way you did it. And I'm hoping that people do listen, and as we can see from some of the writers, that people have benefit and will benefit from that information when they're making their choice to vaccinate or not. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Right, we'll be back after the break. We'll be back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. My next guest is no stranger once you are locked on to Slam 101.1 in the morning. None other than Patrick. I have to get his real name because I only know him as Salt. But Patrick Bellamy, Slam DJ, also known as DJ Salt. Welcome to Face It and Fix It, sir.
Hi, Joanne.
There you are.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. First time seeing you, face behind the voice. We know that happens on radio a lot.
I just lost you, though. I'm not hearing you right now.
Okay, well, let's see if we can get that fixed, and let me know when you can hear. Can you hear us now? No? Okay, well, we're having a little technical problem, but while we get that sorted out, I don't listen to Slam every day, but I do catch it some mornings with DJ Salt. and we're trying to rectify the technical problem in order to get him back. But every morning, a lot of people tune in, and I believe some of the shows would be what's on your mind or what peeves you off types of things. Say again? It's gone again? All right. Well, we're hoping to get him back, and we want to talk to him about his views on the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know if some of you remember that there was a voice note circulating of a caller talking about the vaccine and the whole chip theory, etc. And we all listened to it. Some felt it was found it hilarious, and others just kind of wondered why would people be talking about a chip in a vaccine. So that came over on the radio on Slam 100.1. And we also know that Janelle Marshall, former work colleague of mine on Starcom at Starcom Network, she also joins DJ Salt on the mornings. We're still trying to get the technical problems sorted out. But in the meantime, I would like to stress, I'm not shoving it down your throat, but hopefully that people can remember that we're still in a pandemic. We still have a curfew. Our numbers are going up every day. I think we had about 175, if I'm not wrong, yesterday. And we are hoping that persons please continue to adhere to the protocols and that we can get these numbers down. I'm not quite sure what else we can do or say to the Barbadian public other than to sound as if we're repeating ourselves. We bring the information, we bring the experts, we talk to the doctors, they talk to you. Unfortunately, sometimes you hear a voice note from someone that you have no clue who they are, then that takes you down a different road. Then you start to ask questions, even though that's okay. But you need to find the truth and you need to get the facts in order for you to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to take a vaccine. Now, I can tell you that there are some persons I know that caught COVID. I know of one individual, female in her 40s, a very bad asthmatic, vaccinated. She caught it, and she said to me over the phone, she truly believes that if she was not vaccinated, that this would have held on to her stronger and possibly caused her to be critically ill. I can tell you that her symptoms came on Monday, a little niggling in the throat. Tuesday, a little niggling in the throat. Wednesday, she started to feel a little feverish with chills. She went for a COVID test. By Thursday morning, it was positive. By Thursday lunchtime, all of the symptoms that she was reporting were gone. As we speak, she is in isolation, yes, and she's doing well. But she strongly believes that if it had not been for that vaccine, she would not have been able to fight it off in the way the vaccine did, as well as her body. Because as I said earlier, she is a chronic asthmatic. Do we have back Salt on the line? All right. Well, okay. Well, as we continue to get him sorted out, let's talk about the vaccination process now for our children. We know we have 21,000 children on the island to vaccinate between the ages of 12 and 18. We're only about 7,000. And I'm sure that you parents, if you're vaccinated, if you decided that you're going to take the jab, I'm sure you're going to want your children to be vaccinated as well. For religious reasons, I'm sure people understand. I also know of one parent, and I know that he is watching, that sent his children to be vaccinated, and he did not vaccinate. Not quite sure how that happened, but he assured me that he was actually going for his vaccine. So we now have Salt back on with us. I think that the two stations probably like they don't want to meet each other. What do you think, Salt? Slam and 100.7, because it's on the radio too as well. There's a showdown going on. You can hear me now?
Apparently, even though we're so close to each other, you being just up, apparently we're not supposed to talk, but we're going to work through it because you're, aren't we?
Okay, so we got you. Your program starts at what time in the morning? And the name of the program?
I'm on from 6 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. from 6 in the morning?
Yeah, but I have two call-in programs. One at 7:15, which is that's more like serious issues, and then at one at 8:35, Crazy Crazy, which is more fun, like hearted program.
Talk
But
about the
you would
serious
imagine
issues.
that.
Okay. I said, let's talk about the serious issues as it relates to
Okay.
this pandemic. What are your thoughts, first of all, on what is happening around the world and in Barbados in particular? How is it being managed in your opinion? Because you sit in the chair as a DJ, you hear from the public every morning. What is your take on it based on what is happening?
Well, you gotta go back to the beginning when they first heard about this virus in China. If they saw it spreading across the globe. We've heard of swine flu before. We heard that had Ebola a few years ago. So it was always thinking, all right, this is the planet never going to be affected by this, or hopefully by the time we are affected by that, we would have a solution. But the problem was spreading more quickly than the solution. And eventually COVID came here and has been evolving situation. And it's been evolving information that we find out about COVID, but all evolving in the ways that we as a race, a human race I'm talking about, have to deal with the situation that we've been presented with and how we're going to cope with it and live with it going forward. So the way that I look at COVID in August 2021 is not the way that I would have been looking at COVID in August 2020 or far less in March last year when we had our first case.
So, okay.
So in terms of how we are handling it, is an ever-evolving process. I could just work with what evidence is presented to us and hope that our authorities make the best possible at trying to help them to get the messages out there.
All right, so this is where I'm at now with you as a DJ. Popular, you have a following, you have a responsibility, a social responsibility, I would imagine. So before I ask you that, I may have to ask you a personal question. How do you feel about the vaccine? Because obviously I don't think you're going to promote anything that you don't feel is good for yourself. So if you wanted to share that with me about the vaccine, how do you personally feel about it?
Well, with the vaccine, you would see that on my social media, I've actually was engaged one of the people that was really applauded by the Ministry of Health to get the vaccine campaign out there. I think the vaccine, as the authorities have been saying, is just another layer of protection, and it's another step in the direction of putting COVID-19 as a pandemic behind us. So I am for the vaccine. I would say that I think that it is one of the ways for us to get beyond the stage where we are at and continue to compete against this virus that is afflicting the entire world, the entire I know everybody isn't for it, but I definitely would say that I'm for the vaccine. I'm pro-vaccine.
Good. So what do you see your role now as a DJ? You got your following, your listeners. Do you find yourself maybe during your program and maybe even the serious side of the calling program that you have, the talk show, that you actually do promote and encourage? And I say encourage because I want to be clear that no one forces anybody to take a vaccine. You merely share the information, I would imagine, and try to influence them, but not force them, because there's a big difference. You see your role as that, as a DJ?
I see my role really as a person to facilitate the truth and facilitate people having access to the truthful information. I wouldn't like to give myself that much credit to say that I can influence someone to do or not to do, but I encourage people in my to take the vaccine, but I don't try to be too hard on people who have a hesitancy for the vaccine, because what you do then is you start to ostracize people and people start to become defensive. And truly, everyone has their own reasons. On the programs, I don't see it as for me to anyone over their head to have them take the vaccine. But I also don't see it as my role to allow people to come on whatever type of information they deem necessary. I think that the information that comes across on the areas must be credible. So that's the situation I find myself in, trying to be as fair as possible in different rules and concerns and it's come across while still limiting the misinformation. Because I think that's the greatest war we have beyond the COVID-19 misinformation.
There was a voice note circulating. Someone took a clip from your show. And I'm sorry we don't have it here to play, but
I'm not.
but you went down a road where you let her speak, huh? You just sort of let them and you ask them questions and
Facilitated.
yeah. And for me, listening to it, and I'm not judging people of me, but you kind of, I'm asking myself, did we fail somewhere with how we do things or how we share information? Did we fail with education? Did we fail? Because it's almost like I'm not sure where the person was getting that information from, and they were sharing it with you, and it sounded
Right,
some way
I'm not
way
sure.
it sounded way out, it sounded way out off the planet, type of thing.
That is the thing when you're trying to combat misinformation for me. And the counter views to the entire pandemic and the messaging that the authorities, because there's so many different theories. There's so many different theories out there that it's hard for us who are responsible for being keepers of the truth to stay at top of every single theory that there is. So one week some person will call in about a session and say, so now you gotta scramble and do all your research to find out what exactly are they talking about. What do they mean by this? I never heard. And before you can even get to the bottom of that and discredit that, somebody else calling and saying, oh, you shouldn't wear masks because masks is meant to sick. So you gotta go and research this and not to say, wait, masks is meant to sick for true or not. They calling again about 5G. Or is get the virus by 5G. So you gotta go and research that. So every time somebody calling, even though you and all they can be asking is, where you getting this information from? What is the proof? What are your sources? But it's constant misinformation coming down. People have to be trying to find the answers for and the solutions for, so you don't know everything about Dr. Fauci. Everybody's coming every week now with something different about Dr. Fauci. You got to try to Google it. You can't the story. Body coming then with I forget the vaccine, and I like get that to last week.
With the chip and the magnet,
And the chip,
etc.
yeah.
But
And the magnet,
when we come back, Salt, we're gonna continue our conversation. We're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back. We'll be back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We are speaking with none other than DJ Salt of 101.1 Slam in the house. I'm a little bit
Slam in
old
the
here,
house.
Slam in the house. Probably past that kind of slang, but hey, you know what I mean.
I behave
But
yourself, Joanna.
well, listen, only last week somebody messaged me while I was talking, and I said, look, what's the one thing that Barbadians want? We want to get back out. We want to socialize. Men on the block want to go up on a cruise, you know, that type of thing. So what we doing? And I said, well, I want to hurp and party. And somebody messaged me on my phone while I was on the show and said, Joanne, you too old to party. And I was like, okay, then you put me in my place.
Tell that person behave, because we've got parties for all age groups as well. Don't forget, I'm a DJ. And I'm a spring chicken later, so I know very soon they're going to be playing at the parties for Joanne too. So don't worry.
Well, there you go. And it wouldn't be, it may be, you know, it wouldn't be Cupid or something. I may be Cupid. But let me talk about the DJs now, and not only you, but the importance of other DJs. Maybe weighing in on this to help educate. As you said, just bring the information to people, you know, because you know how you guys just do it. You got Lil Rick, you got Indian, you got all of these guys. We got my boy who's just do all the, dear Lord, why do I have blocked right now? Surf Rat, who does his thing,
Right.
you know. So we got all these people who got their different little followings. Do you think that they can play a bigger part or help more, or maybe they are helping, I'm not sure. But you see a role for them in terms of educating people in these age groups, in particular people who like to go to the cruises, and because that's a big thing, huh? Getting ready for a cruise, you get in town, men looking for shirts, shoes matching the shirt, girls looking for hair, getting the nails do and stuff like that. That's a big event. So they know cruises. So we want the cruises now to come back. The girls want the cruises to come back. The guys want the cruises to come back. Realistically, you may have to then vaccinate in order to reduce the spread. How important is this for DJs to get involved more, like yourself? I know you do your part, but do you think the others maybe?
It all depends, firstly, on, you see how we started the conversation. You asked me personally what my position was. So when I speak on vaccinations, etc., I can speak from a position of a bit of knowledge. I'm not going to say of knowledge, but also from a place of passion, where I am passionate about getting people to go there and get the job. If the DJ himself is not for vaccine, it's going to be difficult to get that into other people to take the vaccine. So what we really need to do is to get those DJs that are for that message, pro-vax, because the same way that because you're going to have it with soca artists, some soca artists are going to be like, nah, they don't want it. You can't get that soca artist then to do a jingle, if you get what I mean. And so you get the vaccinated DJs to push the message. And I was telling Miss Undecided, I don't know if you know.
Yes, of course. You remember I used to host Brass Tacks too, you know. So
yeah, I know. I just teasing you. But I was telling her this morning though, because one of my caller's motivation for being vaccinated was because he wants to party. And she was saying that he didn't want party, he want the Lord. And I was telling her, whatever his motivation is a meaning, right? So whether this DJ now that is going to promote vaccinations, his motivation for promoting vaccinations is just so that he can once again create employment, once again get out there and party, and wants to get promoters, as you said, hairdressers, nail techs, every store in town that's selling, it's an entire economy that is going to be kickstarted once you outside entertainment, fraternity working again. So even if his sole motivation is that he's wrecked, he want to get a return to normalcy, can make money again, as long as he's pro-vaccinated, he's going to encourage people around him. But it definitely comes down to each one reaching one. And I think you might be surprised to hear me say this on the bosses from the block. them is the men now that I feel got more influence.
Stick it right there. Only yesterday. No, I
Uh,
lie. Saturday. Yesterday was Sunday. Spent all day helping some people out navigate the whole COVID thing that were positive.
yeah,
Joanne Natalie Haigh said, you got to go to deal with the bosses on the block and see how they feel about a vaccine. Number one. Number
yeah,
two, creating ads. Let me just say, I'm going to start grouping people now. Nail techs, masseuse, barbers, hairdressers. Do an ad that catering to them because it's about money now, you know. You losing
yeah.
revenue. Sitting down in that chair, you limited to one girl and somebody outside and you can't handle this body, whatever, too many of you. The mask, these are things that you have to interact. So you know that they can hit them. ZR van main, taxi drivers, not a group. Don't the van stand, deal with that. Then you have the school kids, of course. You have the elderly. I believe they've gone through BART. You got security forces. I would have joined the police, security guards, fire, Coast Guard, BDF. One
That,
ad,
you got him.
up the
So many
chain,
different.
right?
Yeah.
Is in
No, we
groups.
guys talked about how many different Barbados is.
Exactly.
Right?
So you can't do one broad as much as we like it. And I'm saying, yes, it's important to say this is how to wear a mask, this is how to do this. But come on, a lot of people now tuning out of that. So as you rightfully said, any prime minister, because she said this, each one, reach one. This movement got to be a grassroots, on the ground, community movement, along with the ads
Because
that you
as
play, yes, to get the
yeah.
information. But this is not going to fly to sit down and do too many of these broad interviews or even a press conference.
I
That
agree,
too.
John, because if we look at how we started the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we said AI is a global and it's affecting everyone in a different way. And the way it's affecting you now is not the way it was affecting you before. So the way how it's affecting the environment is not the same way how it is affecting, let's say, the nurses, right? The doctors and nurses, the hair techs and the hairdressers, they're underground. They got people that friends to come into their spa. They got people that got like spas, even like doing massages and pedicures. I think their numbers are down because people feel like it is a luxurious item or is an item that they don't necessarily say. We need to get these people because of the way that COVID is affecting them now to come out and speak to their their cohorts and their field of business to get them to come out and show why it is important for people to get vaccinated. And I continue to say all the time, vaccination is another in the journey to get where we're trying to get, which is to have COVID behind us.
On Saturday again or Friday, I put on my Facebook page, it was a picture of myself and my hands folded like this and you know with a real serious looking face. And I said, this is the look of my face when a guy asks me out on a date and not vaccinated. Unfortunately, some people, some males, actually one female, you know, weigh in and one come down in my throat. No. So what happened if you're nice and what happened if you this? They're missing the point. And I wasn't even thinking about me being scared of an unvaccinated person that I want to date. I was actually worried that me being vaccinated that can still catch COVID can pass that on to an unvaccinated guy that I kind of like. So obviously when you're taking your relationship to the next level, it can't just be on the phone no more. You will be dinner. So similar to HIV, when back in the days, they will tell you to wear a condom that would allow for that layer of protection. COVID is actually worse because you and I just have to sit on the dinner table. Close.
15 minutes before the
You and I
mask.
just gotta be in the same car without a mask and we can catch COVID. At least with HIV, you can have dinner, but then you
Transmit
can catch
bodily
it.
fluids,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. No, the vaccine is equivalent to wearing a condom. It offers protection, but like a condom can break, so there's a vaccine breakthrough as well. In other words, we say that people, I can still catch COVID because I got a vaccine. Yes, but it offers you a layer of protection that reduces your chances of being very ill and hospitalized. I said all that to say this. When they jump into the conclusion, Joanna won't date the man unvaccinated because she discriminating. It really wasn't that. I'm not worried about the
Right.
unvaccinated. I'm worried for like doing something to me. I'm more worried for them.
And as you say, a lot of people
You
don't even
know?
understand when it even comes to wearing your mask. When I put on my mask, I'm not putting on because I am afraid that you are going to give me COVID. I'm putting on my mask because I'm afraid that I am going to give you COVID. And I
Exactly.
don't want that, I don't want responsibility on my shoulders. I don't want it to be again a message from you saying, hey, I am maybe at Harrison Point, or me having to one of the things that really scares me. I guess you were in a similar position too when somebody got miss you off the program for 2 weeks and everybody knows it's because you had to go at some point, but then you also have to contact everybody that you have been around for the last of how many days to let them know you should probably go and get tested because I myself have come up positive and I am very so that's why I try my best. And I know it's not foolproof. You can catch COVID, you can be vaccinated and catch COVID because sanitize your hands. So you can even stay home all the time. It's not nothing is 100% certain. But what you need to do is follow all the protocols, limit your social gathering. And I mean everybody's gathering in some form at some point in time now, but still try to limit it as much as possible, make those crucial calls. Wear your mask. Wear your mask all the time. And one thing that I hope that we never, ever, ever forget about, even post-pandemic, I will let you see this continue forever and ever, is sanitizing your hands.
Oh
That is,
yeah.
that is the one blessing that I can see coming out of COVID-19. And I hope that even after the pandemic is over, that every store, every mall, every location, every restaurant has hand sanitation stations at the door from 2021 and beyond to infinity and beyond.
I agree with you. Let's get three. We just put up three WhatsAppers. One said that, they always found you to be intelligent. If the producer can put them back up, then we have to wrap up. Can we get them back up?
Yeah.
But one of them said that they always thought you were very intelligent and a person and reasonable, exercising good judgment. And I don't see the others there, but they said, I've always found Salt to be well thought out, reasonable, intelligent man. Morning, Salt, from Kim
Good morning,
Tate.
caller.
Right.
Hi, Monica.
So another one, we're running out of time, but I'm fully vaccinated, still keep boosting my immune system and following all the protocols. COVID is real. There's no running away from it. I hope we get past this very soon. Thank you for that WhatsApp or two for their support. And at some point, and in closing, Saul, half the population in the world, half of humanity, from what I understand, is now vaccinated.
I saw that statistic.
Yes. All of we can be wrong. But we respect, as we said, those who cannot for religious reasons, for health reasons, and those who are on the fence, I hope
I
they
can
get
sense
the
what you're hearing now
information.
too, right? Yeah.
I can let you wrap
Because
up.
I hear
Yeah.
a lot of people. I hear a lot of people saying that they can't for reasons, and I'm not challenging anyone's religion, but I would like to let's have a discussion with them to find out which religions it is that don't allow them to take the vaccine and for what reason, just to get a better understanding.
Understanding. I agree.
Yeah, because a lot of times people were even saying that their faith doesn't allow them to become vaccinated, but when the Muslim, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, though the guy that spoke on behalf of the Muslim population the other day said that some of their members are fully vaccinated. So I was surprised to hear that when I heard people saying they can't get vaccinated but
On
I
those
guess we'll have to
grounds.
have a better
No, and I
discussion.
agree with you, and I would love to find out too. Maybe that's a show that we both can have again coming on
Yeah.
together because we're all working together and we're all in this together. And I don't want to sound cliche, but we all in this together.
All
Seriously,
of it together,
right?
all of it. I was even telling David, Alex, the other day, I said, David, I want interview, and it's not, yeah, I want to know about the role of the team, but at the end of the day, all of it on the same team. All of you want this thing behind me. For
Correct.
whatever reason it is, we want everybody. I
Well,
don't
I
think there's
agree with
one
you.
single person in Barbados that wants us to stay in the past. I'll be hard pressed to find that individual.
All right, we're going to have to leave it right there. Thank you, Salt, from Slam 101.1 FM in the house. He has now left the house because he has to go back now to do what he has to do. Thank you, Saul. I'm going to let you come back again, okay?
Invite
And
me
I'll
back
come on your
when you're ready.
show. And I'll come on your show.
I love that.
All right. We'll
Love
talk.
that.
All right.
Amen.
Thank
Good
you. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Our next guest, as I said, is no stranger to CBC or to the media, period. It is the Public Relations Officer of the SSA, Sanitation Service Authority, Mr. Carl Padmore, and he is joined by Janelle Edwards, the Communications Officer, Prosource Limited. And for those of you who may not be familiar, there's so many ads going around and a jingle and the garbage cans and roll it out. Really and truly is what we've been hearing. We've been seeing it on Facebook. We've been hearing about it everywhere. And this program, and it's an exciting program, and the first time for Barbados, after so many years, we finally cleaning up the place in the way it was supposed to be cleaned up for years. Welcome, Janelle and Carl, to Face It and Fix It. Before I start, ladies first, Carl, of course, and you know, beauty before, you know, so let me put Janelle first. All right, Janelle, this company called Prosource, I know that they would have done the similar program in St. Kitts. I believe that they're also looking at other regional opportunities to, and they've been asked upon to sort of look at other waste management systems, and they're working on that. So this company, Prosource, is no stranger to separation of garbage and producing the scheduling of how things should be picked up in a timely manner, all the logistics, as I should say, pertaining to the waste management. Tell us a little bit about Prosource.
Okay,
from
thank
your
you so much.
perspective.
I'm happy to be on the show. So Prosource, as you rightfully said, we would have recently embarked on a similar waste collection improvement project in St. Kitts. And now we're coming home to home ground in Barbados. It's a Barbadian company. And we do have interest from across the Caribbean region, from the north parts of the Caribbean to the south. We like to be known as the waste management specialist, and we're happy to be working alongside the Sanitation Service Authority on this project that will modernize and transform the way that waste is collected in Barbados.
I understand that this program, long time in coming, but finally here. I know there was a lot of preparation work. I know that you have field officers that have to get information. I understand that the information is tied to the Barbados Water Authority meters. Hence, you would have seen some officers. What exactly were some of the other things you had to do in order to get to this point? Because I know you're rolling it out in a few days.
Thank you, Joyanne. So it's a good question that you brought up. Many people will now see we're now moving into the customer facing part of this project where we're now engaging with householders on a real level. Householders will receive a 65-gallon rollout cart for your municipal solid waste, so that's for your general garbage, as well as an 18-gallon recycling bin for plastics. So that's the component of the project that we're in currently, but the project has many components. I'm sure that many Barbadians would have seen the retrofitted garbage trucks, where we have mechanical cart lifters that will assist the lorry loaders who work in the back in lifting these new roll-out carts and tipping them. That's one component. The project also will feature in-cab solutions, which will help the SSA to better optimize the routes. And at the end of the project, Barbadians will actually be able to have a collection day. And that's one of the biggest and the most proud parts of this project for us, as well as the fact that the lorry loaders will not be displaced. So I know we have seen some comments about persons querying whether lorry loaders, how is it going to work? But yes, it's a mechanism, but we cannot do it. It cannot be lifted on its own. So the lorry loaders are still required. And it's really to provide safer and healthier conditions for the guys who work at the back of those trucks.
So basically, the truck man and my guys, which I can have it out with Carl for moving my regulars. I like the new ones, but I miss the old ones. But basically, the benefits to SSA workers, in particular, the guys at the back, what you're saying is that gone are the days of lifting it and flipping it. But the truck itself would have to, it doesn't actually pull up and lift it from the side. The wheels and the handles allow for you to just roll it, roll it onto the back of the truck, and the truck then flips it, and you're done there. No, I want to get to out.
Sorry to interject. There's just one step as well. So at the side of each of the garbage truck on both sides, there's a lever, and that lever, so once you roll out the cart and it's your garbage collection day, the cart will be rolled up, and the lorry loaders will actually operate the lever at the side to actually action the mechanical cart lifter. So it's not a system where that you might see in the US where everything is fully automated. So there's no ability to lift it without the levers and without the two guys working the back.
Hence the reason that you can safely say that there'll be no loss of jobs. Now, I'm going to deal now with Mr. Padmore about moving my favorite guys in Union, St. Philip. But I'll tell you this, they were so polite that I think on their last trip, they saw me and they actually informed me, Miss Haigh, you're going to see us no more. They moved us. You have another crew, just as good. But my concern is, know that we see that we have new garbage trucks, number one, retrofitted garbage trucks by Prosource, logistics being handled by Prosource, the rollout is handled by Prosource, sanitation now, obviously this is done in tandem with Sanitation Service Authority. But the success of this project really lies at the end result of all of the hard work and the logistics done by this company. Carl, it is then up to you and your team to roll it out in a way that has been prepared. Now, there are some challenges that the public have always, been concerned about. Everybody cannot get a bin, apparently, with this project. It is for domestic persons, it's for domestic use, so it's not commercial. How are you going to manage the collection in the areas that the trucks can't get into? What is the plan to go along with this project?
Right. Two things will happen there. Some of those areas that we've already flagged that will continue to have a general skip. Also, there are some areas where you would have seen a cluster of the bins, the normal metal bins, by the end of the curbside. The residents will still have their bin because each bin is coded to your water bill. So we know that it's your bin. And all it is, we want you to carry your bin. Remember, it's a gift from the government for you. It's free, but we still want you to carry it. So although your bin, just like your metal bin would be let's say 20 feet away because the truck can't get in front of your house, we still want you to carry that bin. That's very important for us. So we will not, we're not going to make it cumbersome for you to handle your waste. You will put your waste inside that. Now, you will also get, like Janelle said, a recyclable bin. And months down the road, we will phase in that as well. For the time being, we want you to get into the habit of separating the plastics, and we will reach the community the type of plastics we want to place there.
Oh, so you're rolling out as well educational program on separation. Yes. Who's responsible for that? Is that SSA or is that a collaboration between Prosource?
It's going to be a collaboration, private and public sector, but we have the solid support of Prosource, but we're going to be doing a lot of that in-house where possible.
But you carry majority of the responsibility for sensitizing on the separation of waste.
The whole content of the recycling will be coming from our engineering department. We have persons there that we would have sent overseas to be trained. This is years, even before this project came up, on recycling benefits and all of that. It's just that we don't have a national recycling policy, but we are hoping that through education we can lead towards that. So the recycling bin, the blue one that you can see there, that is the one that we're going to be focusing on to get Barbadians into the habit, because it's a lifestyle of placing the plastics in there. And we're going to be telling you down the road the type of plastics we want at this time.
I think this is so pretty. I can just imagine seeing this sea of bins, all the same, right through all of the neighborhoods in Barbados. Janelle, just a quick question pertaining to these bins. As you said, you can track them, and how can you explain that? They're equipped with what?
Okay, so the rollout carts, which is the one with the green lid, as well as the recycling bin, the blue one, come equipped with an RFID, a radio frequency identification tag. It's a smart tag that allows us to identify and track the bins.
Can I tamper with that? Can I tamper?
You cannot.
No, I mean I can't tamper, but is it tamper proof? I should say.
As to a certain extent, yes, it is. Okay. Of course, there are people who go to different lengths. But person, yes, it is tamper proof. We have seen a question on our social media. Persons are querying what happens if the bin is stolen, and it's a good question. The first thing we're going to say is that we have 100,000 rollout carts and 100,000 recycling bins to be distributed. So for the most part, all Barbadian households will have this. There are some caveats, of course, for commercial areas, etc. So there should be no reason to steal someone else's bin.
Well, I can tell you this, Janelle. A couple years ago, it was in 2004 or 5, I had a metal bin, and Carl, listen to this carefully. I just put down the metal bin, a little, that little metal bins you get. And about 3-4 days after I put it down, somebody stole it. So, and that was just a metal bin years ago. I bought then a bin similar to what you have with the wheels, and I had to chain it in the handles onto the posts of the wall in order for it not to be removed. So you're saying that people, if they remove it, it can either be replaced, but you don't want to encourage people to say, well, look, if somebody steals it, I can replace it. You more or less want to encourage them not to steal it, I should say.
Not to steal them, because one, the bins, like I said, have an RFID that allows us to identify and track. If we realize that the bin perhaps is in an area where it shouldn't be, then our team, as well as the SSA, will have handheld devices, and they can scan and tag to see where it is.
All right.
We also want for residents, when they receive their bins, their rollout carts, as well as their bins, to note somewhere at home the last 6 digits on the rollout cart. What that would allow is if there are any queries or any questions that they may have.
This is example, when you flip the lid. When you flip the lid, then there's
no, on the back of the rollout cart, near the area where you're going to push it, it's identifiable, easily identifiable. So there's going to be no problem finding it. You can note the last 6 digits on your rollout cart should you have to call the SSA's hotline, or if you have to email Prosource, then we'll require that information from you.
Okay, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we want to know how easy it is to call the SSA and who answers the phone. As we know, a lot of government agencies, we have some problems with that. Coming back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It, and the correct show to be on, as we have had to face the garbage problems over the years. We are now hearing about how we are fixing the garbage issues after so long. We know that we have garbage trucks. We also know that we have these trucks retrofitted. We now know that we have rollout carts. We're now finally coming into the 21st century with the separation of garbage. Thanks to Prosource Limited and the SSA working together in a PPP venture. And I think Barbadians should be pretty excited about it. Now, before the break, we talked about getting some information off of the back of the garbage can. Is that the garbage can for the general garbage, or the waste, sorry, the recyclable garbage? Janelle?
So both will have different tags, so you can get it from both. But more importantly, we were talking about the rollout cart, which is the one that will hold your garbage.
65 gallon.
Garbage.
Yes. Okay. So Carl, if I call the SSA, am I going to hear somebody at the end of the phone answering me and what is the time? Like, is it 8:30 to 4:30 set up? Because if there's one thing I don't think Barbadians know, is that you have a call center set up, a customer service. Listen, a lot of Bajans, well, if they knew, they wouldn't call the calling program to tell, they would have called yours.
But they call up to this morning alone, we have had 30 calls, and this is from like.
All right, let me rephrase. Let me rephrase. Right. I think that it should be noted that
that's right.
You have a customer service section equivalent to that of a hotline that I believe that more Barbadians should know about, and I don't think enough Barbadians know. So I wouldn't say that no one knows. It's something right. That now that you're rolling out this new project, there are going to be a lot of questions. So if it's not Prosource they're calling, and it's SSA they're calling, remember the success of this project is really about the SSA and the end result to us. So from what I'm hearing, Prosource is the logistics. Getting everything ready, rolled out, laid out in preparation for you guys to do your job in a better way, in a more comfortable way, because they don't have to lift, in a way where the schedules now would be there for the public. So that means that's put into place. But I am only concerned about the call center, not because it's SSA, because of our experience with other call centers, I want to make sure that yours is different then.
262-5326. 262-5326. The second number, 262-5327. 262-5327. You can call these numbers up to 10:30, 11 at night, and the lines will open from 6 to 6:30 in the morning. And it is not only for the project, which will be rolled out, by the way, Wednesday. This Wednesday, we're going to St. Lucie. We are going to be launching the project.
You starting in St. Lucie and not up by where we live in St. Philip? What happened? When you can get
No,
screen?
you see, St. Lucie, according to Janelle and according to all the other ladies, you may be different. We have to start with the island's lone female parish. We have to dress her up and make her even more queenly than before. So we're going to start at the top and come down. I had to give way to the ladies. You know, I might say, let's go St. Philip. I might say, let's go Christchurch. But I said, let's start at the top. So fine, we're going there. There's nothing magical about it. We opted to do that because Janelle will tell you that we have mapped out Barbados. And really, the north is not only St. Lucie. The north is a collection of parishes in the north. But we have earmarked the area in St. Lucie. And Minister Peter Phillips will be there giving remarks. Minister Adrian Ford will be there.
Do we know where? Or can you say where or no? Where is it?
We can't say where, but we just want to say to Barbadians, it is not a public event. Still, please understand, because it will be streamed. So a stream link will be going out. We're going to Broomfield area. But note, it is not a public event. Yes, public, we are coming to you. But we don't expect
nothing.
All of you
nothing is a public event in a pandemic. Right now,
right.
So
Good.
we can. Question for either you or Janelle. So I live in an apartment, and should I say two, upstairs, downstairs, 1 meter. But there are 10 people. Do I get 1 garbage can, or I live in an apartment block and there's 6? Do I get 6 garbage cans for that apartment block? 1 each, because each person would have to recycle. Each person would have to.
Okay, so that's a good question for apartment complexes. So even before the project officially rolls out on Wednesday, our team of field officers would have been out in the field, making assessments on certain areas, etc. We would have also worked closely with the SSA to come up with a scheme. So I know your producer is here, and it would be good for Barbadians to actually visually see what the plan is for apartments and complexes. So on our website, if the producer goes to question number 6 and just clicks the schedule, you'll be able to bring it up on the screen for everybody to see, based on the apartment size, etc., how many roll-out carts and recycling.
And not how many water meters. And it is tied to the water meter. So you could have
situations where if there, so here it is. So if you have
1 to 4
apartment complexes, you get 4, and then they go all the way to 16. If we have received some calls already, if there are more than this, then you can feel free to send us an email at info@prosourcelimited.co, and we will have a conversation with you along with the SSA to make a determination for your area. But we have been out in the field making these assessments, but this is the current schedule. So Barbadians and householders can go on our website, and that's www.prosourceltd.co, and it gives you all the information on the project. Any queries, we have about 27 frequently asked questions. And like Carl said, you can also call the hotline, or you can send us an email.
So quickly, before I get back to Carl, you said you have field officers out there.
Yes.
And we know that during these times, some people may come and purport to be a field officer.
Yes.
I want you to tell us, I don't know if it's on the page, the producer can pull it up if you have a picture of a field officer, the shirt, the tag, everything, so that Barbadians can be careful, because there's limited, if none at all, interaction with the field officer and the customer. Give us a little breakdown there so that the public would know. Nobody from Prosource coming to knock on your door to say they need to come and see inside of your house to see where to put a garbage can in the back. Explain.
Okay, so the process is very minimal. Of course, we have, like I said, we rolled out this project in St. Kitts before, and now we're here in Barbados, both under COVID times. So our interaction, the field officers' interaction with homeowners is limited. So the first thing I want Barbadians to know is that no, you do not need to be at home to receive your card or your bin. We will place them in close proximity to your current location or physically on your property if we are able to do so. So wherever your current bin is, we'll make that allocation, and then each rollout cart will have on the inside when you receive it a direct mailer with more information as well as more details on the recycling plan and how things will roll out shortly. So when field officers come, they'll be wearing a gray shirt like mine. It says Prosource, or a white shirt, and they also carry identification should you want some additional information or have a query.
Well, quickly though, if it is that I have the type of house that as soon as I step out, when you step up on your front road, there's no space, then I normally put a bag out on my step. Can I still get a can? Or, because I may tell you, you may not leave it, but I may say, look, I can keep my garbage in the backyard, open up my paling gate and roll it out to the truck. Can that still work? Or is it, if you don't have the space for the garbage can, you can get one? How is that going to be managed?
No, so that's a great question. And actually, we have a resident who we spoke with at length, myself, environmental ambassador, who she doesn't like her bin at the front of her home. She's pretty, she's a pensioner, she's at home, and she wondered if she could have it in her yard, and she puts her garbage there, and then on the roller, on her collection day, she can just roll it to the front. And that's absolutely fine. You can have your bin stored in a location, and if you're comfortable with just rolling it out on the day because you're at home, then you can do that. But like I said, one of the big benefits of this project would be that near the end of the project, the routes would be optimized, and Sanitation Service Authority will be able to tell householders which day they'll get their collection. So some people, aesthetically, having garbage on the front is not good for them, so they'll store it on the back, and then they can just roll it out. Until they're ready to
pull it out. Roll it out, I should say. All right, Carl, last question at you, because we're running out of time. Now, all of this is fine and good. I think it's an excellent program. I think it's time we changed it anyway into recycling, etc. But we got a bigger problem. This is taking care of the domestic end. What are we going to do now in the garbage in the public spaces that we see in? I mean, how can we better sensitize Barbadians to, you know, clean it up a little bit when you're going to the beach, when you're in a park, around car parks in, say, Oistins area. I'm mentioning Oistins. I know that Prosource of Father's Day, did you renovate or did you build it? Did you repair I never get the name right. Somebody help me here. I always call it the house for the skit.
Well, we call it the Oistins way station. So
way station. Well, I mean, it's like a room, it's like a house, opening up with the skit inside of it.
Sanitation skits, which houses two sanitation
Waste station skits. I will never get over the fact I never remember that name. Waste station skits. And you guys painted it up on Father's Day as a joint event. But Mr. Padmore, as I said, we got 1 minute. What we can do about the public spaces, though?
We are working closely with the Ministry of Health, the health inspectors. Right now, as you know, they are caught up with the COVID fight, which is taking priority. We are also working with some business houses. We've had meetings with the Chamber of Commerce, and in fact, they have changed some of their personnel, so they're going to reconvene meetings shortly. And we want to go on a big campaign, especially around the tongue areas. When I say tongue, not only Bridgetown, but Oistins Town, Spikes Town, Old Town, to try to get the buy-in from the business places as how we can clean this up. In terms of the marketplaces now, Bridgetown, up there, Fairchild Street, and Bay Garden, we are trying to meet, well, for instance, the Bay Garden, we met with Eric Lewis already, and we met with the president, a fellow called Mr. Harris, of the Vendors Association, and we're looking to educate, continue to do training, so we can get them at that level where they understand that even although you have a kiosk, you can still separate, make it tidy before the collection. So we know it's a long fight. We know we have to be intense in it, but we are going to be picking that up soon after we get this project off and running smoothly. this is the priority right now because Wednesday is just 40 hours away. And we can twin it with our whole recycling program that is coming up.
All right, that is all the time we have for this particular segment. I want to thank Janelle Edwards of Prosource Limited, Carl Padmore from the SSA. We were discussing the Residential Waste Collection Improvement Project coming at you on Wednesday. St. Lucie, look out. They're coming your way. And I hope, though, in closing, that you don't do St. Lucie, St. Andrew, St. Peter, that you could jump from St. Lucie and come to St. Philip and then do everybody else in between. Because I am looking forward to my bin. Thank you very much. All right, so we want to thank you. We're going to invite you again because I think I'm going to give you about 2-3 weeks so you can come back and talk about how the rollout actually went. Okay? Because people more interested in what you do, not what you're going to do. So I know what you've done so far, but the rollout now, it will be interesting to see how it's working. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll be back after the break with Nathan Hart talking all about solar. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. My last guest is a very, very good friend of mine, former work colleague at the Barbados Water Authority, currently seconded now to the Barbados National Oil Company, one of the best engineers on the island, chemical engineer. I think that's what it is, but let him correct me because there's so many engineers and he does so many things. I don't know which hat it is that he can wear. He also is trained in solar, a former teacher in environmental science at the Lodge School. It is my pleasure to welcome on the show Mr. Nathan Hart. Nathan, welcome.
Joanne, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let me get the correct engineering skill because I know there are many hats you wear, but the one that you carry on a piece of paper is it's chemical or mechanical? Chemical.
So it's chemical and process engineering.
And
But then
process
in my
engineering.
final year, I specialize in sustainable engineering altogether, and that's why I got involved in, as you mentioned, teaching. In fact, teaching led me to renewable energy, and from there in 2008, I did some university courses in renewable energy, and then did installation under William Hines, who works at the Ministry of Energy. That was in 2009, 2010, thereabout, and that led me to become a qualified installer. And I also have three-phase electrician license. So I'm scheduled to work up to about 600 volts on three-phase site.
Projects. All right, so we don't have I had cut into some of your time, and I do apologize for the other interview, but let's go back to the Barbados Water Authority and the role that you played there in renewable energy. I now remember we did a lot of features on you, and I think it was the pumping station, was it Golden Ridge, as
Golden
well
Ridge,
as
Golden Ridge.
Solar Park that they now have the Bridgetown sewage.
Yeah.
Tell me how important that is to tying it into water. What are we trying to achieve with solar? Let me start there, because people see all these panels and they want to know why they're all going up. There's a reason. Give us that reason, and then tie into, say, the Barbados Water Authority and the need for them to do it and to go in that direction.
So the reason, that's a very good question, Joyce. Really, to reduce our carbon footprint is about building climate resilience. And as you would know, it takes a lot of energy in order to run these facilities. You would have been there with me. You know the data that previously the utility company, the BWA, takes about 24. The last time in 2012, when it was about $24 million a year in order to cover just the energy needs for the water authority. So my concept, I remember when I got the interview there, Mr. Harris, I said to him, my specialty is renewable energy. He said, we need people like you. I mean, I did have some watershed moments where sometimes I tried to introduce the renewable energy. I remember one previous general manager said, we don't need renewable energy, get out his office. But I met a young lady called Joanne Haigh. Dr. Braffett was there. And the board in general pushed, and we were fortunate in 2015 to do the first renewable energy system commercially available on Golden Ridge. And Miss Joanne Haigh, which is you helped actually to push renewable energy at the BWA. So it's not just Nathan. A lot of it was Wayne Richards. A lot was yourself and some of the other working staff, the Bomiston team. I want to say good morning to them. So I enjoyed working there. And many of the mid-level staff, they were very supportive on renewable energy and helping us get renewable energy at the BWA. So yes, I was instrumental, but I had tremendous amount of support from persons like yourself, from Wayne Richards, and many of the supervisors that I work with.
So now you've moved on from the BWA, and let's just make sure people know it's a secondment. You've been now seconded to BNOC, and in the capacity of solar installation, possibly designs. I know you're working on a number of projects now. I know you're not here to speak on their behalf officially, but you are associated with them. But I wanted to carry this conversation in a broader sense of renewable energy and what that means to Barbados right now. I know that we have a deadline, we probably won't meet it, to lower our carbon footprint by 2030.
2030, yes.
Yes. Now, a layman like me, as much as I helped, I pushed, but there's some things I still don't fully understand about solar. So let's deal with the domestic first, and then what it means to the customer to go this route. And how costly is it? Because I think a lot of people are turned off by the cost, but if they don't associate it with the benefits and the long-term benefits of savings, then a lot of people get turned off because they say, look, I don't have $10,000. So can I fully power my house and come off the grid away from BLNP? Or this thing about halfway off and halfway on, what does that mean? You're either off or you're not, but you're either tied to the grid. Explain that language, because I don't fully understand that.
So you ask so much questions there.
I always do. Sorry, I always do.
So it's a lot. So there are so much options. So what you spoke about there is something called a grid tie option, where you are tied to the grid, but there's no storage element to it. Then there's an option called an off-grid option, where you're not tied to the grid. You have some form of storage, either batteries and or a generator system. And then what you mentioned about, there's a part where you can meet in the middle, where you have a hybrid system, where you have the grid as a redundancy, meaning as a backup, but you also use the power, you store the power, and you use that power from some element of storage. Either it could be a hydrogen cell, which is a new technology, or it can be a battery. It used to be the lead acid battery, but now today, because of the whole aspect of electric cars and cell phones, the cost of lithium ion batteries, which is a little bit more reliable that cost is dropping. So we're talking about three different things: grid tie systems. You're connected to the grid. There's no storage. You actually use some of the electricity that you produce from the solar panels through the inverter, and then the rest is sold to the grid. The grid absorbs that. Then there is the off-grid system where you're not tied to the grid at all. You use all the power that you consume, and then there's the hybrid system where you can have the grid as a redundancy. For customers, you mentioned that I'm there at the Barbados National Oil Company as a project engineer consultant for about 3 years now. Started in March. It's really good to work in this environment. People ask, why is the oil company involved in renewable energy? Well, the oil company, under the mandate of an excellent general manager, James Brown, I need to mention these guys, James Brown. We have Ronnie there, who is the HR manager, but he's a scientist.
Operations manager, my friend Terrence, former
Yes.
Comamarian.
Common
I say good
So
morning
it's a
to him.
mixture.
I gotta say good morning. I gotta say morning to the chairman of the board, the new chairman of the board, Mr. Vic Fernandez, who is also the chair too as well there. But you know what? You went there, so let's go there. I see all of these panels outside of BNOC. Lot of it. I drive down by Lower Gray's side, I see panels. I look at some roofs, I see panels from big entities. I understand panels on some houses that were put there as part of a domestic project.
Program, yes.
Yeah, how many projects they have happening? I mean,
I am so happy to work with this team. Stuart is also his business development officer, and Wesley finance. All of these individuals, all of these managers are strategically focused on transitioning the BNOCL from liquid fuels, non-renewables, to a new fuel, which is using the sun and wind and biogas. And that's the direction that the general managers are heading. You mentioned the chairman. Only last week, Wednesday and Thursday, we had a strategic meeting, and the chairman met him for the first time via the meeting Zoom conference, and he spoke. And what I took away from him is that he highlighted the amount of things he did in transforming the media and what we know as mass communication in Barbados. And he said to us, in part, that he wants to know that when he leaves or finishes with his tenure, what has he helped? How can he help the BNOC to transform from an oil and gas to a renewables? And you spoke about renewables. Yes, the BNOC is implementing 4.1 megawatts of solar in the St. Patrick's area. They are doing it in Lower Grace. And then they also have an excellent program started by Mark Hill, who is BIDC now CEO, with the help of Terrence, with the help of James and Stuart and Wesley. They have a residential program. What is a residential program? Is that persons who do not have the upfront capital, they can come to the BNOC. Even if you are a government worker, you can sign up. There are two systems, a 3 kilowatt system and a 5 kilowatt system. And just for a minimum cost of $79 a month, you can get a 3 kilowatt system that is valued $15,000 on your home, and you pay monthly.
I'm paying $79 a month?
$79 a month. You can get a 3 kilowatt system.
And a 3 kilowatt system can do what for me if I have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, I don't know, all the, is it?
So Joy, it's not about the size of the house.
Isn't?
And I need Barbadians to stop thinking that a large house needs a large system. No, it has to do with usage. So I've visited homes and did energy audits where persons have a large home and their bill is only $100 a month. Persons may have a 2-bedroom home and their bill is $500 a month. So it's to do with the amenities and electrical equipment you have in your home. But you asked about a 3 kilowatt system, what it can do? Well, a 3 kilowatt system, economically grid tied, can take care of a light bill upwards of $180, $200 a month. So if your light bill is within that range, the auditor, the energy auditors that we have at BNOC, they will come, they will visit your property, Renee and the guys and Lisa, and they will say, you can get 3 kilowatts, $79 a month. And then you have the 5 kilowatt system, which can cover light bill up to $250 a month, and that's $179 a month. So persons were worried about the up, and what I like about the vision of the management and the general manager and all of those out there, they are trying to get renewable energy into the average person's home. But there are some challenges though, Joy. We have rolled systems. There are a lot of systems out there The installation sometimes can take 1 day. 1 day. We have installers that can install a system on your home within 1 day. But it takes now, rather than it used to take 6 weeks, it takes now upwards to 9 months to get that meter installed. And that's the difficulty. So somewhat BNOC is getting blamed, or the installers are getting blamed for, putting on the system.
For the delay.
For the delay, but the delay is not BNOC fault. Now, renewable energy with systems larger than 5 kilowatt, you used to need a license. Now someone got smart and said 5 kilowatt systems need a license, and it has nothing to do with the Ministry of Energy. I want to say that, not the Ministry, of the Division of Energy. In my view, the unsung heroes in renewable energy are the Energy Division and the FTC. Barbados has an excellent framework when it comes to the development of renewable energy. And I can say this from personal experience. I've worked in Dominica in renewable energy, I've worked in St. Vincent, and I've worked in some other Caribbean islands in terms of renewable. We have an excellent renewable energy framework. What has happened is that because of the economic value of renewable energy, a lot of persons are now coming onto the grid and want to put in these systems. And so the Energy Division, rather than processing 30 applications a month, probably is now processing 30 applications a week. So there's a volume there.
Wow.
And then now with the whole advent is that before you didn't need a license for 5 kilowatt, someone from the utility said that the 5 kilowatt system has nothing to do with AC or DC. So if you're over 5 kilowatt DC, you need a license. So that has now bottlenecked the system. Personally, Joy, I think there's a suggestion, a small way to solve that problem. The renewable energy framework structure is set up so good in this country. It has to go through a number of inspections. The government engineering electrical department under the headship of Tyrone and Heather and the other guys, they do an excellent job in terms of inspecting these systems. We have an excellent engineering department for government in terms of renewable energy. We can simply say, okay, you need a license. I don't have any problem with collecting GIS information of how much persons are connected to the grid. But when you are issued that certificate and your house has passed that inspection, there can simply be an addendum to the policy framework, and you can say to the utility, look, the FTC and the Energy Division can say to the utility, these people have had their systems inspected, it has conformed to all engineering standards, allow the homeowner to connect to the grid so that they can recuperate some of their costs and lower their energy bill and or save their energy bill so that we can get to that 100% renewables a lot faster by 2030. That's just a suggestion for myself.
But let me ask you this. The panels, I remember with the ashfall that it had somewhat reduced the way how the panels are supposed to work, the energy, reduced the energy that they were able to produce down to probably just 90% or some reduction with the ash on it. If that happens again, or even just dust and Sahara dust and this dust and that dust, so you have to clean these things regular, because if it's caked on with dust, it sort of reduces the flow of electricity to you through panels?
Yes.
Okay.
So Joy, that for me personally, that was just an anomaly. That was a one-off situation. I mean, not every month we're going to get a volcano from St. Vincent blowing ash now.
And it's not just a little bit of dust that can reduce it. In other words, forget the asphalt.
Right.
Okay,
the asphalt was a lot of dust. And I mean, I didn't clean my panels. I've had renewable energy in my home for over, this approaching 10 years, renewable systems, and I only clean panels after the volcano ash had that. So I don't want persons to think, okay, that renewable energy or solar requires very little maintenance.
I was going to ask you that, require little maintenance once it's installed properly.
And personally, George, I would say there's only two things in Barbados right now in this economic climate that you could invest in and get a high level of return on your investment. One is the BOSS program. I thought it was a very good program from the government at Kevin Greenwich. And I also, on renewable energy, you can make 5 to 7% return on your investment from investing in a renewable energy system. Not even the banks are giving you this. And that is why when you look around and you've seen some persons populating their roofs and their buildings with all of these panels, it is because it makes economic sense.
So wait, so let me stick a pin. So I want to reduce my bill, me personally, and I change into solar completely. You're saying that I can also make money apart from my savings, what I've saved. Outside of that, I can make extra money from the neighborhood, light and power. How
So
How?
again, so the government and there's a policy, there's a framework, there's a feed-in tariff set up, and I mean it was really well written by the Ministry of the Division of Energy. Andrew Gittins is the new PS there, and also the Fair Trading Commission. They have done an excellent job. So basically, money saved is money earned. If you have the capital, you could actually put on a larger system if you have the infrastructure, the roof infrastructure. And you could, in terms of not only reducing your bill, you could actually, every 3 months or so, you can get a check from the utility in terms of investing in renewable energy. And a lot of persons are going this way. And that's one of the investment opportunity that persons can do. And it's sad though, I think that the credit unions can do more in helping Barbadians invest in renewable energy. I find as a community, as a culture, as a people, we are.
But don't they have their
risk-averse.
green in loans or green loans or something like that they have? You mean that
They
they
do
could
have the green
probably?
loans, but from a renewable energy point of view, I'm not seeing that movement of telling their shareholders, look, come in and invest in this because this is a project that you can invest in for the next 20 years. Joy, tell me, what can you invest in that you can be guaranteed a particular rate for the next 20 years? You know anything out there? But you can do that for renewable energy. I asked you that question.
Nothing legal, but
Nothing legal. But renewable energy, you can do that for renewable energy. And the technology is there. And you remember we spoke a couple of weeks ago, Joy, about resilience. I think after Hurricane Elsa, one of the things that has showed up me, I was all in for grid tie systems. One of my colleagues, Terrence Strawn, he kept pushing the idea of batteries and James Brown and Ronnie. And at first I didn't see it. I was always into grid tie, but now with the whole advent of
I'm having your lights
storm,
off 2 weeks. You don't know why
yeah,
you don't need
yes,
the grid tie. You need the
you need the
separate battery backup.
battery options. I did a system for a colleague of mine that lives in my area here in St. John. And he said to me he was a bit disappointed because our electricity was off for 9 days in Clareberry. 9 days. His wife uses a machine to sleep with that at night. And he said for that 9 days, she was so uncomfortable because there was no electricity. I had a generator system into my renewable energy system. I am now moving towards battery technology with the help of the BNOC. BNOC is light years ahead in terms of rolling out technologies there to help the average householder. You don't have to be a rich person to come and get a renewable energy system. This is not about what was your
Well,
financial status.
$79 a month. I mean, if for a 3 kilowatt you said, I mean, is worth investigating, is worth asking a question. I mean, because as you said, and all Barbadians know this, and I can lay a wrap up in 30 seconds because we still have to go. All Barbadians know how what we went through. No fault of Light and Power. I mean, but we had to wait. And when I say no fault of Light and Power, it didn't cause the hurricane, but certainly we need to be a little bit more storm ready for certain things as much as we can, because you know we don't know sometimes how bad it would be, even in the category 1. It could be worse, you know, like into like a category 3. But final word at you, Nathan. We have like 30 seconds because I want to bring you back on the show, but 30 seconds.
We need to be more, rather than be reactive as a community, we need to be proactive. And I found one way we can be proactive is move towards grid resilience. And I also want to, the BNOC is also doing a really good program in terms of social impact. They have a project going on. Ronnie has a project going on with the SJPP. And they are trying to actually educate more younger persons into the realm of renewable energy. And if you're happy to be working with a team where all the managers are unified in one goal of towards building a climate resilient country. And if it's one company that is going to help us get there and get there a lot faster, is the Barbados National Oil Company Terminal.
Well, I certainly want to thank you. You're doing a fantastic job. You've always been a talented guy. Keep up the good work, and we will bring you back. That has been Face It and Fix It on Thursday. Do join us with Gemma Brathwaite and her twins. They have microcephaly. It's Microcephaly Day. Wear something yellow. Support them. And until we meet again, God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Thank you very much.